Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel Game Intro. In today's video I'll be showing you guys the subjects a 15-year-old guy studies in Singapore, also known as secondary 3. So the 7 subjects which I take is English, elementary math, standard Chinese, combined science which I take chemistry as well as physics, POA also known as the principle of accounting, and then we have humanities which is social studies and history, as well as electronics. Before you watch this video, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up as well as to subscribe to this channel, because this is really a project with I've put in a lot of hard work. So let's get straight into the video. So for English language, basically is what all students learn during English class, whether it's in elementary school or middle school, your high school. So you have your polytechnics in junior college in Singapore, so your university. So basically we have 4 papers in Singapore when we take the end of year examination. So the first one is paper 1, which you will have an editing exercise, which is 10 marks, followed by an composition writing at the end, worth 40 marks, where you can write descriptive, narrative, expository writing, and argumentative. And then in the middle you have the 30 mark situational writing, where you have to write either an email or a letter, maybe to complain, to recommend things. So that's paper 1, 70 marks. And then for paper 2 you have also another 70 marks. You have your poster part in the first 5 marks. So they'll give you a poster and you have to explain the questions. And then you have your comprehension, which one is a factual and one is a non-factual one. Add up everything in paper 2 and that is worth another 70 marks. Then in paper 3 you have your listening comprehension, which is worth 20 marks. So that's paper 3 with 20 marks, so that's 160 marks in total for the first 3 paper. And then you add in the 4th paper, which is your oral. So in oral you have 2 parts. One is the video stimulus, where you read where you see a video, and then the examiner will ask you questions, followed by a second part where the examiner will ask you questions related to the video. So that's English, 200 marks for the end of the year examination. But in between, if you have your WAs, it can be either one of the components your teacher pick up from the end of year examinations. For elementary math, this is the elementary math, so this is the low foundation of the 2 math. So my school provides additional math and elementary math, but additional math with a high level, which if you take A math you cannot take POA, which I'm really interested in POA, so I decided to skip A math. I could have gone for A math, but yeah. So basically math, you learn all the simple things and then it just reinforce your memories, like algebra, your graph drawing, ratio and proportion, percentage, rate and speed, numbers and their operations, properties of circles, angles, triangles and polygons, congruence and similarities, Pythagoras theorem and trigonometry. And then you learn about coordinate geometry, data analysis and probability, as well as vectors in 2 dimensions. So math is a rather interesting subject, you know. I know people would just say, oh, it's about numbers, but it's kind of interesting that you learn about the different things, but most of the things you learn in math can't really be relatable to the things you apply for when you're working outside as a job. For most of it, I guess, like for example, if you're a cashier, maybe you need math to count the money, but learning trigonometry, Pythagoras theorem doesn't really seem very beneficial in my opinion. So Chinese is my mother tongue language, which is a must for Singapore students to learn Chinese, whether they like it or not. So my mother tongue language being Chinese, so I learned that. But if you're Malay or Tamil, then you definitely speak Malay and Tamil. But yeah, so the exam format is very similar to English, where you have 4 papers as well. So paper 1 is writing as well, just like English, but without the editing portion. So you just have a situational writing and a composition. And then for the second paper you have MCQs as well, if I'm not wrong, 20 questions as well, where they give you different types of questions. Some you have to remember the vocabulary you remember from the textbook, and then some is just information where you have to read the text and understand from it. And then you have 2 comprehensions as well, one factual and one non-factual. Then on to the third paper is also about listening comprehension, and the fourth one is also about oral, where you have a video simulus one, as well as questions related to the video which the examiner will ask you. But obviously you could not take Chinese, but you take CLB, where your marks are not counted to your overall result. So that's Chinese language B. That also applies to Malay language as well as Tamil or any other mother tongue language you take here. And then for combined science, which is what I take, basically I can choose to take either chemistry or physics, or chemistry and biology. So combined science is called combined because they take the scores of both either chemistry and physics or chemistry and biology, and they take 50% from each paper, and then they put the score together to form one paper's worth of marks. But if you take pure science, which my school offers pure chem and pure pure physics, then they count it as 2 separate papers, 2 separate entities. So yeah, to just take up combined, more challenge, and you get to learn more things. But yeah, so in chemistry we learn elements, atoms, all this. Then you have your bonding, your mole concept as well, which is what I'm learning currently. In physics you learn most of the physics stuff, quantity, vectors, scales, your potential energy, how you calculate them, for gravitational potential energy, as well as kinetic energy. So yeah, it's really fun. You learn what most pure students learn, but just not as in depth as what the pure students learn. But yeah, you learn more subjects, you're more diverse, so it's a great experience. So for my 5th subject, which is humanities, what we learn in humanities is basically something like what combined science takes. Social studies, which is 50% of the mark, and then you have history, which is another 50% of the marks. You can actually have 2 options, where you can take social studies and history, or social studies and geography. But being a more factual person, like you can't change the past, I decided to take history, because I think that it will bond well with me, because you can't change the past. It is what it is. So yeah, I mean, geography is also good. History is like learning about the past, but geography is like somehow changing the future. You learn about reforestation, learn about how tsunamis are created, volcanoes, all this sort of thing. But history to me is more comfortable, as well as getting my marks up. For social studies, you learn about whether a source is reliable or not, which is what I'm learning now. But I think it's rather interesting. Social studies is similar to history. That's why I chose history as well, because you need to write your essays or your agreement related to what you're talking about. So yeah, the similarities there. Yeah. For principles of accounting, or also known in short as POA, we learn things related to accounting, which is kind of cool, to see maybe if you're being cheated on, in the future. But yeah, so we learn first how to write an account, I think. Oh no, sorry. You learn how to write a journal, and then you write a ledger. I think beginning you also write some things, but I can't remember. And what I'm learning now is bank reconciliation, which is when your bank statement and your cash bank account is not the same value. So that's when we do bank reconciliation. Before bank reconciliation, you also learn the financial performance, as well as financial position for a period, maybe. Yeah, so POA is a really fun topic. Doesn't mean you're good in math, you can be good in POAs. 2 different subjects where you need to use need to figure out the hidden parts, so because it's just so different from math. But yeah, POA is a very fun subject. I really like POA because it's just so fun. Then for electronics, the final subject, that's a relatively new subject which you're learning, or rather I'm learning. So it's just available for 15 years in the school as a secretary, but it's a very new topic. You know, you have to learn about the wires, the breadboard, which is something new. Which the breadboard is basically a board where you connect the wires in. I'm not very good with it yet. Then you have a lot of the theory stuff. For example, you know, you learn about the bipolar junction, I think it's called, as well as many other new parts. You know, you learn about the transistor, how it works, how the wires connect. Then you have to learn to connect wires from seeing a paper which is a 2D to 3D, something like that, virtual to reality. But it's much tougher than just looking at the diagram, take the wire and just plug it in. It's so much more different, which really requires a lot of thinking, you know, being a more creative person, you know, needing to do the actions compared to just, you know, listening. The electronics is good because I'm usually better at this kind of using your brain to think compared to your language subject like English or Chinese. So I'm just more of a technical person. That's why I decided to take electronics.